Hey gang, I'm in my car. I am ready to go downtown to go see another movie tonight. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to wish all of my friends a very happy Canada Day. In case a lot of you short-sighted people did not know this already, yes.
I'm Canadian.
I know, it's pretty shocking.
Canada? Wow.
And you know, I think Canada, is a country that is really completely misunderstood by a lot of people. So let's just take this opportunity to set the record straight about my home and native land.
Yes, Canada. It was a frozen, hostile wasteland. And there was much work to be done if we were to survive the elements.
Okay, now that we got that Canadian geography lesson out of the way, let's talk about the movie I'm about to go screen. I am going to see Steven Spielberg's The BFG. And I know what that acronym really stands for. Big, fugly giant. Bullshit. Wait a minute. What do you guys think it actually stood for? Oh, come on, guys. Get your heads out of the gutter. It's a family film, for Christ's sake. Okay, JD, I'm going to do my Steven Spielberg impersonation. Are you ready? Are you ready for it?
I'm ready. It's not bad.
It's spot on. If you watch any one of his interviews and documentaries, he's always doing this. So that's my Steven Spielberg impersonation. So we just got out of the BFG, and what does the BFG actually? What's that acronym actually stand for, JD?
I don't think I'm allowed to say that in a PG-rated podcast.
Okay, I agree. It actually stands for Big Friendly Giant.
Oh, does it really?
Yes, it does.
I thought it was something else.
I thought it was something else entirely altogether. Proven wrong by this movie. Here's my question, though. How long will it take before the makers of the iconic Canadian television series The Friendly Giant launch a damning copyright infringement lawsuit against the makers of this film?
There's that big boot. Now look up, way up, and we're on our way to the castle. I'll hurry over first and go in the back door so I can let the drawbridge down and open the big front doors for you. Are you ready?
Well, they would have to sue the writers of the book first.
Yes, and who was the writer of the book?
Roald Dahl.
I do not think you actually pronounced the D in Roald Dahl. I think that's been firmly established. Didn't we not do a Google search of the name before we actually went to the movie to clarify that?
We did, but I still don't believe
Yes,
it.
it's Roald Dahl.
Okay.
Or in JD's world, Roald.
I feel history will prove me right.
I think history will prove you wrong. Anyway, I'm very happy to have my very good friend of 20 years and attorney at law, JD Roberts. You are the first lawyer that I've had in one of these informal movie reviews. So I'm very touched and honored that you're here, JD.
And I do have to say I'm uncomfortable not only riding in a car without a seatbelt, but committing it to photographic proof and uploading that to the internet. So we'll be seeing you guys in traffic court
We'll be seeing you guys in traffic court. What was that one classic scene from Night at the Roxbury where he gets pulled over by the officer and then she gives him a ticket and he's like, outstanding, man. You got her name, badge number, and a date with her at the municipal state court.
Plus a month from now, you got a date to meet her at the municipal state court. Yeah!
Love, baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
Let's start off very quickly by talking about Steven Spielberg in general. Obviously, one of the greatest populist filmmakers of all time. There's no question. He's made some of the films that have just typified my upbringing and my childhood. But I have a question to ask. Has Spielberg made a truly masterful and great film since the beginning of the 2000s.
Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If You Can. See, I made a list of all of his films since the 2000s, and I am willing to fight anybody on the notion that I don't think Spielberg has truly made a lingering and masterful film, with the possible exception of 2005's Munich, and I know you and I disagree on that, but I'll fight anybody to prove my assertion that the Spielberg of old is kind of gone. So we're looking at Catch Me If You Can, very good movie, I'll concede that. AI from 2001,
Okay.
problematic but ambitious. How about The Terminal from 2004? I would go on record to say that's probably his worst movie he's ever made.
No.
No?
Hook
Okay.
is worse.
It gets worse with repeated
Hook is
viewing.
worse.
Okay.
Always is kind of...
Always is forgettable. War of the Worlds, meh. Munich, I still think that's his best film that he's made in the last 16 years.
It's not bad.
Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal
that could be
Skull,
his worst.
which introduced us to the pleasures of Shia LaBeouf swinging on a jungle vine. Thank you, Steven. We also have Adventures of Tintin, meh. War Horse, again, ambitious war period film, forgettable. Link from 2012, that's close to being a masterpiece, not right up there. And Bridge of Spies, well-intentioned and incredibly well-acted, but when all is said and done, up there with the upper echelon of great Spielberg films.
No, but
No.
it's really good for what it is.
It is good for what it is. So this brings us to the BFG, which is based on Roald Dahl's iconic, I think, children's book that he wrote in the early 1980s, and it's basically about this young orphan London girl who one night gets basically whisked away or kidnapped, however you want to describe it, by this large giant played by Mark Rylance, who won an Academy Award for Bridge of Spies. And I actually think that Rylance is probably going to be like Spielberg's next muse. What do you think? I think he's going to be in every Spielberg film going forward.
I don't know how he fits into Ready Player One.
Well, he could be. Villain in the next Indiana Jones movie, it remains to be seen. So anyway, she gets whisked away by this giant, and she discovers that he is not a child eater or human eater at all. He's a vegetarian. He is also a dream catcher, not to be confused with the awful Lawrence Kasdan film of the same name. And the plot then thickens, and we learn of the existence of other giants who are much larger than Mark Rylance giants that cause a lot of trouble, and so forth. So
the name is misleading. It should be the LFG. Or
the
MFG. Medium-sized
giant. Look at this guy, I'm telling you. I'll pass the torch to you real quick, JD. Like, what were your initial thoughts of the BFG?
It's just kind of meh. It didn't really... Too much CG. Not a consistent tone. What
did you think about I'm assuming they use motion capture for the giants in the film. What did you think of the overall motion capture work? Now, I just recently saw Warcraft, and I thought that was, for my money, some of the best motion capture work that I've ever seen in a film. I think this one is close. The kind of the character modeling and the designs are really very cartoony, and maybe they're purposely meant to look like these are storybook characters. I think the interaction with the characters and the young actress's name, I wrote her name down because I knew I was going to forget, Ruby Barnhill, are decent. But there's a lot of shots in the movie where it's like close-ups of the giant, cut to close-ups of the girl, and there's a lot of times you don't see like interaction between them. I don't want to get too nitpicky because like the film is really is super ambitious, and it has a lot going for it in the visual effects department. But I got to ask you, like, how does that make you feel? Like, how did the movie dramatically anchor you? Did it in any way?
It didn't. It's kind of short on plot, inconsistent. It starts off an hour of CG. Then it's kind of fun where they hang out with the queen.
Spoilers!
And then it just kind of ends.
Spoiler alerts. Yes, they do meet the monarchy in this film. I would have to agree with you. This film is very plotless. There's not... like, we just described the story in basically 2 sentences, and that's like about 90 minutes of the film, and it only really develops a pulse of interest when And again, spoiler alert, they do meet the monarchy. It kind of builds towards this third act that's almost kind of a non-event. It kind of ends before it really even begins. I think that the performance by the young actress was really good. I think she was really adorable. She brought a lot of much needed humanity to this film. I think there's something to be said that I think the reason we're so like emotionally invested in like Elliot and E.T. is because E.T. is an animatronic puppet that's real, and he's there, and there's some sort of an ethereal magic going on between those two characters. When you witness Mark Rylance's giant playing opposite of the young girl, you marvel at the visual effects, and then you're kind of like, you're so hyper aware that you're watching visual effects. It almost sort of robs the film of the Spielbergian magic that we want to sort of see in the film.
Think of how much of Elliot and his life that you find out about before you meet E.T.
Yes.
And this is like, she's an orphan, she's in an orphanage, 5 minutes later she's kidnapped in the CGI world.
That's pretty much it. It's almost a little, I don't want to say it's unsavory at first, because it's like, it's about a big giant man stealing a young girl. But I don't want to make it sound like it's an unsavory movie, but it's kind of weird to start with. And you're right, there's really no character embellishment in the film at all. Like, you really don't really grow to learn much about the character. You know as much about the young girl at the end of this film as you did at the beginning of the film. So I think the film is light on character dynamics and character development. You could say that could be also a limitation of the source material, which you and I have certainly not read, which was written by Roald Dahl. Roald? I guess the main question I think that this film really poses is the iconic and legendary Spielbergian magic of old, is it gone and evaporated?
No, I'm really hopeful for Ready Player One.
I think
it's a great book, and it should be a great movie.
I'm very excited for the fact that he is actually directing Ready Player One, because that book to me seems like it's completely unfilmable. I gotta say, like, if you consider like the BFG, which is so noble-minded, and it's a very family-friendly film, is it really, again, in that upper echelon of classic Spielberg films and family films of old? No. I mean, and also if you think about it, is the marriage of like screenwriter Melissa Matheson, who wrote the greatest family film of all time, arguably, in E.T., and Spielberg back again. This is a posthumous work because this is her very last film as a screenwriter. That carries a lot of baggage with it too, because you're thinking about E.T., and I just don't think this film really hit on all cylinders for me. I marveled at its visual effects, and I marveled at all the dynamism that involved. And I really like the performances. And Mark Rylance is, he really brings personality and idiosyncratic charm and strangeness to the character. But ultimately, I just felt hollow leaving the film. And I don't know, it was very long. And
it was long.
Yeah, I think so. I think that pretty much sums it up. Not an awful movie, not a great Spielberg film. I think this is going to be one on his resume that is going to be considered just a decent but forgettable entry.
I agree. All
right, there you go. Well, thank you very much, JD, for joining me on this informal review of Steven Spielberg's adaptation of Roald Dahl's classic children's book of the same name. Be sure to like this video if you can. If you could subscribe to my channel, I'd really appreciate it. And let me know in the comments what you thought of the BFG. Also, let me know what you think about Spielberg's career in general. Let me know what your favorite Spielberg films are. Let me know what you think are the worst Steven Spielberg films are. The Terminal. And that is it. Thanks again, JD, and we'll see you at the movies, everybody. That is all. Carry on.
It's not bad.